Oh, the biggest news of the day is Cardinals fans are getting swindled in free agency for another year.
Jojo Romero.
Yeah, congratulations. The guy who's pitched one good month of baseball in an entire major league career might be closer number 2.
Nice. I saw that tweet last night.
Because the bullpen isn't getting touched. It may be new names and faces. It's not going to be new talent because you're only going to have about 2 starters.
Dang. That is the biggest news, isn't it, Cole?
Yeah. John Denton.
Because Mo said the payroll will look a lot like last year, which, in my opinion, if I'm being honest, don't say that. You don't have to say that so you get guys like, I can tweet about this.
Oh, yeah.
Just say it's fluid. We think we have the money to accomplish what we need to accomplish, but we can spend more where we need to, which is probably the reality. Just message it different.
That's all.
Now you're putting it on a tee for the Coles of the world.
Don't get me wrong. I appreciate his honesty because that was an honest answer.
Did you expect him to say we're 40% increase in payroll?
No, but that'd be a lot of money.
We're going to see who's available.
That'd be
go from there.
The Cardinals, if they 40% increase in payroll, that'd be unbelievable.
Yeah,
but that's what you wanted him to say, and then you'd still take a shot. Well, they'll probably mess.
It should have been 50.
I didn't want him to say anything.
What do they got? $44 million to hire.
They're about
a couple of starters, fix the bullpen. If they're smart, they should be able to. They should be able to do it, I think. But I don't really know what the price of poker is right now. And I was thinking about it as I'm doing my due diligence. Like every one of these free agent starters has question marks surrounding it. Like I'd love Nola, but he had a bad year last year.
How old is he?
30.
I think he's 31.
30. By the way,
what would he want? Like 4-year deal?
There we go.
Probably 5.
125-ish.
Yeah. And then, by the way, it's Sonny Gray's birthday. I sent out a tweet.
He beat me too.
Wishing him
starting off hot.
Wishing him happy birthday.
Yeah.
And sometimes I said, a nice birthday wish will make you want to sign a 2-year deal in a wonderful city at a team-friendly contract.
Team-friendly.
Good morning, everybody. So like Minnesota? Twin Cities, you're saying?
Yeah.
So I think the council
he's 34. Let me just finish it.
Well,
He's
you were
34.
finished, but go ahead.
He's 34. That's obviously a negative, right? You look at all Snell is obviously very good, but he gives you 5 innings. Like I think all the big ticket guys have negatives, except for Yamamoto. I always get that wrong. Except you don't know how we translate to Major League Baseball. So it's kind of like you have to spend, but you probably, if you weren't so strapped for pitching, wouldn't necessarily want to go overboard on any of these guys, but they need it.
How old is Yamamoto?
25.
5 or 6.
Okay.
25.
Okay.
Range.
I don't know.
I like that range.
Be careful.
I like that age.
Because I hear Mets fans are talking about Yamamoto, and if it comes down to the Cardinals and the Mets,
40 schmil a year, they're going to throw at him.
There you go.
26, though. Okay.
If Mets fans are expecting him to be one of their free agent acquisitions, you can back right off and move on to.
So are Yankee fans.
So, well,
Cardinals will get him.
They'll get him.
They'll throw 250 at him.
They'll outbid him.
I had no problem with what John Mozeliak said.
He was being honest, which I appreciate.
And to be fair, last offseason, there wasn't great honesty. We're going to increase payroll. Now, I understand things happen. Market got crazy. You had whatever was going on with Bally's last year. That was a situation. But to me, I mean, what do you want the guy to say? He's at the meetings. He's going to be at another meetings coming up here in December. He's going to be asked a lot of questions. I mean, he said they're going to be prudent, which the Cardinals are going to be prudent. And that $44 million number added up. Okay, let's say 25 goes to a starter, your number 1. Let's say 10 to 15 goes to your number 5. They're probably going to trade for the other guy. Isn't that about what we thought?
And you'll end up getting a reliever on a 1-year deal that can
that's 44.
I mean, I agree with that. But my point is, if the messaging is just a little different, and maybe they don't care what's on social media, or
they don't care about Cole.
I admire that.
But they should have enough money to get what they need done. Right? I mean, I think that would probably work.
44 schmil.
But if he says something like, it's fluid, we could spend a little more where we need to. We think we have the money to check all the boxes of things that we have to accomplish. And then you don't have the backlash.
Yeah. Well, they probably would anyway. I mean, they're going to backlash one way or the other. You know what I mean? They're just waiting for it. Everybody's waiting for it.
Until they start winning. Like, they have to win this year. You know, if they want fans to come back, they want interest to be stoked again, they have to win. It's on them. Last year was awful, and they say it's going to be better. Now it's on them to make it better.
And by the way, them adding 2 to 3 pitchers doesn't guarantee they win at all. I mean, they're trying to get back Monty or a Monty-like pitcher. They had him last year. They're trying to get somebody better than Jack Flaherty. They had Jack Flaherty last year. Right?
Yeah.
Well,
it doesn't ensure you're better.
Nothing does. But I will say, the way the season started and then the wheels fell off, if your rotation is better in the early going, I think you set a better trajectory. I mean, to me, everything fell apart from the starting rotation last year. That doesn't mean they were a great team, and that doesn't mean that all the other things that went wrong didn't go wrong. But to me, that's where it all started.
And by the way, I'm saying that doesn't guarantee you're a playoff team. I think they should be better. If they add 2 pitchers and they're not better, something's really wrong. But remember, going into last offseason, the conversation was, how do the Cardinals get away from just being the 90-win team and being a team that's more elite that can make a deep run in the postseason?
And now
they really came back.
And now we're at the point where we sell our souls for a 90-win season.
Yeah.
One of my heroes let me down last night.
Who's your hero? Megan Rapinoe?
Plazzi was making fun of Mozeliak, and I'm like, look, he can only play with the money that he's given. So he's like, can you believe this nerd runs a baseball team? Well,
Them's your people. Them's your people.
He can't steal money from the wallets. All right,
You love him?
Yeah, because I think the joke is funny.
Oh, I'm just asking.
I've never met him before. I didn't know
he was
you're just drawn to the negativity.
I'm drawn to him. Yes. Yes.
So he was chirping Mo, and you stuck up for Mo. Good for you.
Well, not publicly, but I was just reading it. I'm like, oh, Plowsy.
Oh, you didn't have any rebuttal to him?
No, I don't think I tweeted anything about it.
Oh,
no top
actually,
tweets?
no. I did have a Romero tweet, but anyway.
Were you?
I saw it.
I was.
What was it?
I was like, let
what I
Cole
basically
have
already
his-
said about him.
Yeah. You laid off on that one, didn't you, Jimmy?
I had no problem with what John Mozeliak said
Neither do I.
at all.
It helps us. It helps us be smarter because it sets expectations,
And by the way,
assuming they're real expectations.
and by the way, what matters is what they do.
Agreed.
So he could say that. They could actually, I don't think this is going to happen. They could surprise us in a positive way. Am I banking on that? No, but it could happen. They've done this before. There are a lot of times that, it's always better to say less. When you say Matt Carpenter is our third baseman entering the offseason, they trade for Nolan Arenado. Right? So to me, I'm not going to crush the guy. We've all crushed him a lot the last year. Now it's time to get to work. So they can put together an offseason that actually really impresses people. I'm going to let them at least try.
And they have the money to do it. Look, we agree. I disagree with what he said, but the way he said it, really.
But he always talks like that.
He shouldn't.
That's Mo talk, using words like prudent.
Yeah.
People, honest to God, most of the people on Twitter had to look that up to know what it means.
I did.
Including myself, to really know the definition of that word.
I did, and I've already forgotten what it means.
Yeah.
So-
Wait, you had to look up what prudent meant?
Yeah. And I already forgot what it said, so I got to go look it up again.
No offense, that's embarrassing.
We should be embarrassed, Charlie.
No, I think most people.
You didn't have to look up prudent.
He just said that he
I
looked
know
it up.
what it means,
No,
but I'm
he
saying
said people like you on Twitter.
no. A lot of people.
He just said I had to go and look
Yes,
it up to remind
because
myself.
John Mozeliak uses a lot of high society words.
Is prude short for prudent?
Yes.
Okay, then yeah.
No, prude means
Or no?
Prude has a like you don't want to live
absolutely
your
is.
life.
A girl's prude.
Right. Prudent kind of means
Not a guy.
I've heard
prudent
that word
means
before.
a more measured approach. Generally,
That's a prude.
Yeah.
really.
Yes.
Yes.
When you call
Maybe
a
you
girl
should look it up.
Oh!
when you call a girl a prude, that means she has a measured approach.
Yeah.
It means-
I'm not
it-
having sex with you.
Yes, that's what.
That's the whole point. The Cardinals aren't having any sex with good pitchers.
There it is.
Cam is obviously talking about the girl that wouldn't climb into the back seat with
I
him.
know. There's a couple. But, that's funny. Yeah, we
But I
learned
knew,
something.
by the way, I knew the Cardinal fans were going to go crazy about that. Of
course.
But last winter, He said we're going to increase payroll. They really didn't. I mean, very marginally, and people crushed him for it. So, and they should have, by the way. So if you're him, don't give him anything. At least surprise on a positive. Maybe they do increase. At least we can celebrate that 2 months from now.
That's what I've been saying, so we agree.
So that's why I have no problem whatsoever with what he said. No problem.
All right.
He's going to answer questions.
Good.
He's going to answer questions for the next 2 months. And, like, everyone is going to dive into every word he says. Like, they have to do it. They have to go sign pitchers, trade pitchers.
Cam, do you think, like, D-Bag Mo is always talking down to us like we're morons, Wombat? He does have that, like, snooty approach in a way, but he's a smart guy. And, you know, I get you. It's if you compare him to Army, like we've done before, just the way Army approaches how he speaks to the fans, and then how Mo does is completely different. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And I'm not saying that he's a D-bag. I'm just saying this is a different approach.
Not that they care, but I would have worded it differently.
I understand. I understand both parts, man. I do.
Barmel choked.
Oh.
And so yesterday,
did you stop when he did that? Did we all start laughing? I remember we started dying laughing.
Was he wrong though? In that game?
Really?
Again, it's all about language though. You can use softer language. You don't think he blew game one of the playoffs?
Man.
Cat?
Oh,
really not. I don't want to like dig up a corpse. Come on.
No, I'm asking you a question. You don't think Ali Marmol
choked
had a hand in blowing game one of the playoffs versus the Phillies?
That's different than calling.
Okay, but again, it's not.
And
that
it's also
much different
that if you're a guy that I'm going to show him on Twitter, and then when the guy's here, I'm going to be scared and not say a word. I don't like that. Say it to someone's face, which you wouldn't. So don't say it that way.
I bet he
would. And it's words. Yes, he would because
I bet he would
because he don't. I don't understand Cole sometimes, but it's almost like he wants to be the villain.
Yeah, no, he's the Joker, baby. Yeah, let's go. Heath Ledger.
I got that. You know that gift.
Although he died.
You know, well, yeah, which is why I can't take sleeping pills.
There you go.
That's the reason?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes, I'm afraid to. I don't get
into that.
Because I looked up Heath Ledger, and his whole thing was that his brain would never turn off at night.
I know.
And that was me, and I'm just like, this is the most relatable thing ever.
Yes.
And then he OD'd on sleeping pills. I'm like, I'd rather struggle with sleep for the rest of my life than try that.
Have you tried like ocean sounds? I've read where that actually helps your brain stop.
I do brown noise. Brown, not white noise. Brown noise.
Diverse.
You're very diverse.
Thank you. And I seriously.
What is brown noise?
It's a little bit different. It's just a little bit thicker. It's not as like I don't know the word for it, but it's just a little bit more easygoing. But it just drowns everything out in the room, like my dog snoring and stuff.
We actually have a clip of brown noise.
Tune in to KFNS with the Missouri Apology Station.
Hey, there
wow.
I listen to Tuna.
Wow.
The whole time. That's brown noise, baby.
Tuna would like that joke.
Oh, he would love it. Anytime you're talking about Tuna, he likes it.
Tuna
Good,
would
bad,
like
in between.
And our listeners love that joke.
How have you tried to deal with it? Have you tried any of that stuff, noise or any?
No, not really.
You should.
I know.
A lot of people get good results from it.
Yeah.
I got to get the ocean.
And there's like melatonin and stuff like that. That's natural that you can get at like Walgreens. But I used to take melatonin. They gave it to us when we went to Sweden in 2008. And I just felt groggy as hell. You know, there was jet lag, the time change and all that. And they gave us melatonin. And I'm like, oh, I just felt like crap the next day. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't even. I don't know. I'd look it up and see what the easiest thing to take is that's not going to make me drowsy anymore and that's not addictive. You know?
Yeah, everyone talks about melatonin and like NyQuil and stuff.
What about
NyQuil, dude? You're going to feel like dog crap, man. NyQuil's only if you're really sick and clogged up. If you take that, dude, you're going to be feeling like crap.
Exactly, because I've seen like some people talk about taking it recreationally. I'm like, is this safe? Do we know?
No, you feel like you're.
What about tryptophan? Isn't that what's in turkey? They say makes you sleepy.
Yeah,
that's a natural thing.
It's in turkey and something else too.
It's in everything. Chicken.
Yeah.
I just feel like I wouldn't want to take anything to help me sleep.
It's not good.
That I don't think I'm going to get good sleep out of it. Maybe that's my bad, but
you might, and you're going to be like, I need it again, and I need it again. I mean, you can get addicted to a lot of things, especially when it comes to sleeping, dude. So sometimes it's better off just to not have a good night's sleep and get up and suck it up.
So there was also something that happened on social media. This is why I think this is Twitter's wheelhouse. So yesterday, Ken Rosenthal tweets, Counsell's not going back to the Brewers.
Yeah.
He's going to a team with a current manager. All of a sudden, my phone blows up with people saying, "Are you hearing anything? Is there any?" I was like, "No, it's not Ollie."
Oh, that's definitely a Cardinals move. Give the largest contract in the history of baseball managing.
But at that point, they didn't say it was the largest
I know,
contract.
but the Cardinals would never do that.
Well, first of all, I knew Ollie is coming back, and I thought the entire staff outside of additions was coming back. At least that's how I left it with people I had spoken to. But people who were like, "This is it, Ollie's out." Nah.
No.
And then if you're the Brewers fan, and this is what the bad side of Twitter. I just tweeted, "I feel bad for Brewers fans." Really? Why? He burned himself out. What? He's like, people were like attacking. No, Counsell was well thought of. The fans liked him. They didn't have a real complete team. And now he's going to the Cubs. So, yes, I feel bad.
Making a lot of money.
Fan. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying if you're Brewers fans, you're like, what? What just happened?
Right. And
what just happened?
Look, the money's fantastic. You also want to win. I love the Brewers, but that's a poverty franchise in the sense of if you're Craig Counsell and you're trying to win, you're going up against the Cardinals every year. You're going up against the Cubs, the team you just left for. You know the Cubs can spend.
Yeah,
the Cubs can spend like the Mets, but I mean, the Cubs can spend. They're a top 3 market. What do the Brewers do? The Brewers sell off assets when they're winning.
Yeah.
Think about if you were 2 years ago, Craig Counsell. Brewers are rolling.
Yeah.
And they trade Josh Hader in the middle of a pennant chase. How do you think you feel as a manager trying to compete? Wouldn't you say, maybe I go to a franchise that instead of trading away Josh Hader, we'll trade for a Josh Hader?
What was the reasoning for that?
Well, they're all about managing money, which I understand, but like at some point you're saying, man, dude, I want to go up against somebody that's winning the arms race.
And if he's your guy as a manager, that money that you're paying him pales in comparison to signing a player. So if you want to keep him, then pay him a little extra. But I thought too when I read that he's going to the Cubs that maybe they said, you know, that starting rotation that you kind of like, we're trading that away too. That we're going to have a sell-off because it happened. Like you don't go from the Brewers to the Cubs, but they're paying him, so good for him.
For $8 million?
And then they took a shot at him out the door. I forget who said it. One of the owners was like, well, you know, he's been a part of this community for a long time, and now he's not part of it. Like, something stupid.
He's going to miss our community and our fans.
He's making $8 million?
Damn. I mean, what is it, $40 million over the term? He's a good manager. The Cubs have their guy. Ross was their guy, I guess, sort of.
But they blew it this year, too. I know we can't say blow it or anything, but look, the Cubs had a playoff spot until who was the outfielder that dropped the fly ball? The Japanese fellow.
Oh.
The Cubs had a playoff spot locked up, you thought.
Sia or Senya, something like that?
Until the last week or so of the season.
Chuck, you always say the Cardinals won't do this or won't do that. Don't you think after having their worst season in 20 years, they may want to change what they normally do?
Did I say that? I said
Cardinals say that?
I said what John Mozeliak said yesterday didn't bother me one bit. I don't really care what John Mozeliak says until they make moves. Like, I'll critique what John Mozeliak says after the fact if he doesn't live up to what he said, right? Like last year when he said we're going to increase payroll, nobody crushed him until they just signed Wilson Contreras, essentially, and then shut her down. To me, it's all about what you do. And I think John Mozeliak knows by now that less is more in terms of speaking for anyone in the organization. They've really stepped on some rakes the last year. They have. As we talked about off air with the messaging, I mean, you can go through small ones, big ones, whether it was Jordan Walker, whether it was Zach Thompson, whether it was Wilson Contreras, which was a big one. The last year or so has not been good for the Cardinals on a PR front.
And it's almost like no one coordinates their messaging.
Yes.
Like they need someone to say, okay, what are we doing here? All right, here's our message. Let's all get on the same page. So I think that's a fair critique.
Mo, like all D.C. politicians, know the income base. Be it fans or taxpayers, they will not hold anyone accountable. They, the elites, just let us go to the corner and scream so we feel better. Meanwhile, they are not listening to us. They are just eating real good. Eat.
But they are listening. because the Cardinal fans keep going to the games. How's it going to change if Cardinal fans keep going to the games? Which, by the way, I get it because Cardinal baseball is huge here, and it's fun, and it's the thing to do in the summer. But until you really send a message, and John Mozeliak said that to John Denton, they anticipate a bit of a drop-off in ticket sales, at least starting the season, coming off a bad year.
By Mozeliak's comment shows, him and DeWitt don't care about winning championships anymore, but you guys can protect them all you want.
He doesn't control payroll. How's that his fault?
You hate DeWitt. He's the wallet.
Moving on up.
That guy did say DeWitt, though, on the text line.
I don't hate him.
That's a fair point, though. DeWitt is the one, hey, give him money to spend.
DeWitt is the reason you're not winning championships. DeWitt is not the reason that you missed the playoffs last year. He gave John Mozeliak and the Cardinals enough resources to at least make the playoffs. But World Series championships, I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah. You mentioned both Mo and sex in a matter of 30 seconds. Thanks. Now I can get the picture of Mo having sex out of my head, Mailman Anthony.
So what was the analogy? For the Cardinals to not be prude and have sex with the big-name starters.
Yes.
So if you want to have sex with Yamamoto.
Have sex with Blake Snell.
And when I say sex, I mean sign a contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
In this
Same
analogy.
thing.
Contractual sex.
Contractual sex.
Yes.
Yes.
Prudent equals conservative. Also, that last segment yesterday was awful. Had to turn it off. When is that whiny Cowan coward wannabe going to go to 101 with Rockio so they can coordinate their angry sports tweets and this show can get back to nitwittery? Lemming wings.
But wasn't that nitwittery?
Nitwittery.
The whole segment talking about that.
Wasn't it? Wood?
Yeah, come on now. I enjoyed that segment.
Would you pay 5 years and a boatload of money for Snell?
I would pay for him, Nola, and Montgomery. I think they're all going to get around the same 125.
So who would you want out of those three?
I like Monty because he was here.
Yeah.
He's more of an innings eater. No, he's an innings eater.
You Cardinals shill.
Didn't he just have a great? Okay, you didn't see him dominate in the postseason.
I don't disagree with that, but
He's a winner.
the first thing you said was,
isn't that the most important thing?
no, that's not what he said. He said the first thing that said was, I liked him because he was here.
No, he was here and he was good. That's the point.
That too. And Blake Snell's going to win the Cy Young.
Blake Snell is also very volatile in terms of what he gives you year in, year out. I love Nola. I mean, I think Snell is the most elite pitcher of the three of those on any given night. I'm saying that we've seen Monty fit in with the Cardinals for parts of two different seasons and really pitch well. They also need innings, by the way. So if you're going to sign a Michael Wacha type for your fifth starter who's only going to give you 140, by the way, what did Snell give you innings-wise? I know Aaron Nola eats innings. Monty eats innings. Snell has not been – I don't think he was a huge innings guy for the majority of his career.
180.
I got to count
and then
this year,
and then
fives versus
180
sixes.
this year, then the year before 128, 128.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's a legitimate – and also he doesn't go deep into games. Look, I would love to have him. I'm not ripping him. But if you're picking – the best guy out of that bunch, I'm not so sure it'd be him. I also, and whether Cole doesn't think it's important, when you see a guy pitching well on the biggest stage in the postseason, that makes me want him even more.
Exactly.
Okay? Nola did that.
So
right?
is Snell, though.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're weighing innings and everything, to look at Montgomery and just say, well, you liked him because he was here last year. Well, he was good here last year. And then he took it somewhere else and led him in the postseason.
Yeah. Right.
That kind of changes the dynamic is all I'm saying.
Right. Well, the thing that I was upset at was that the first thing he said was, I liked him because he was here.
Well,
and I'm like, how's that any different than everybody calling for Lance Lynn and Michael Wacha? Let's just get the band back together. All the names that we like.
Get Waino back.
Cole, you need to let people finish their thoughts. Do you think I care? If he had a set, okay, hey, Waino was here. Do I want Waino back when he had an 8 ERA? No.
I think you want another
It's implied, Cole, that he was here and he was really good for parts of two seasons.
To be honest, it seems like you're stifling him a little now, Charlie.
And by the way, in terms what I said about Snell, yes, I need to evaporate. What I said about Snell, and I think it proves the fact that the man's going to win the Cy Young. So the ceiling of Blake Snell, I think, is greater than the other two. But that's for one game. That's for one season. I think if you look at consistent innings, Nola, Montgomery, those are big dudes that log innings.
Yep. He's a winner. He's a winner.
Isn't Snell a big dude?
I thought he was about. I don't think he's as big as Montgomery or Nola. I could be wrong.
Blake Snell's 6'4". Is he?
Is
that what
He's 6'4".
Yeah.
But he's not logging innings consistently.
No, that's a good thing to look at when you're spending a lot of money on one of these guys.
Monty's 6'6".
Yeah, baby.
He's bigger.
Is he
bigger.
really? I didn't know he was that
A
tall.
monster.
Maybe you should do your homework a little bit and
Maybe
stop evaporating.
Why don't you watch once in a while?
I didn't even bring up his height.
Put down Twitter and watch.
I don't care.
I even knew that.
I don't care how tall Blake Snell is.
just
If
telling
he
you.
got a 2.25 ERA, it doesn't matter to me.
But my point is,
You don't care about the innings?
I was talking about his height.
No, I know, but I'm asking if you care about the innings.
He's mostly a 6-inning pitcher, and
Or 5.
No, he's pitched 6 innings 17 times last year, and he's pitched 5 only 9. So that's almost double.
but his career though, this is like, again, Michael Wacha is very tall. Okay, Michael Wacha throws
We all agree. Can we all agree on
130 or 140 innings. My point is, Monty is giving you 190, 180. Nola has been that dog. Blake Snell this year is that dog, but in past years he's been, as Kat read, a 130 innings type pitcher.
I think he's had this year was the second time he's had 180 in his career. Now, I'm not saying he's a great pitcher. I think that's correct. I'm not saying I wouldn't love to have him, but we're trying to pick which is the best of the bunch because I don't think they're signing 2 of those guys. That's all.
They could add the 3 best pitchers in the majors, and they still won't be any good with that terrible manager. This is all a waste of time.
So Ollie is going to.
That's a positive tweet right there. That's positive.
So Ollie is going to ruin whatever pitcher they sign.
Yeah. Yep.
Let me just read real quick. Sorry,
Go
Cam.
ahead. No, go ahead, babe.
And this is just for context. Snell, his innings, rookie year, it's fine, 89, but 129, 180, 107, 50 was the COVID year, 128, 128, 180.
So 2 times he's gone 180.
I'd like him to be healthier.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah.
There's just more. I think it's fair to say there's a little more volatility with Blake Snell.
And it doesn't matter who we're talking about because they're going to end up signing Sonny Gray.
Correct. 1,000%. Yes, we should all be quiet because it's guaranteed to be a Sonny Gray 3-year deal for $60 million.
Well, Sonny Gray and who? They got room for another starter.
And a trade.
They're going to trade for Logan Gilbert, and I'd love that.
I'd love that. And then they're going to get
And then Waka.
somebody in the Michael Wacha bucket.
The fourth bucket.
Third bucket.
All right, let me ask you this.
5th starter bucket.
I'm going to ask Cole because Cole hates on everything.
Okay.
They get Sonny Gray. They get Logan Gilbert, who I don't know if they can even make that happen. He's the guy I like. I've seen him pitch. I love his stuff, okay? Those 2 up front, and then Waka as another addition to the rotation. Would you be happy with that?
I'm less familiar with Logan Gilbert than other people are, admittedly.
Young guy, I think he's 26.
26.
Michael-
I like that.
Isn't Michael Wacha, speaking of people who haven't thrown a ton of innings, isn't Michael Wacha like injury prone?
Yeah, we've talked about it. But his last 2, he's about a 140, 130 guy. When he was with the Cardinals, he had what they considered a degenerative shoulder issue. He bounced back from that. And he's had calf, forearm. I was reading his IL stints. So he always has something. But he gives you over 120 innings back-to-back years with an ERA of like 3.38. And we've seen him pitch against the Cardinals. His stuff is really good. So if he's a guy who's not at the front end of your rotation, I would take him as an addition for sure.
And for context, Nola, if you go backwards from this year, 193 innings, 205, 180, 71 in the COVID year, 202, 212, 168 if you're going back. So he's usually right
horse.
around 200.
So you're looking for, obviously, an effective starter to put at the front of your rotation who is effective, can win you a big game, especially in the postseason, but also is able to give you a bunch of innings, if that's the guy you're paying for. Nola fills the bill. Look at his ERA. This past year wasn't good for him, though.
It was not. 4.46.
That's one of the little things you kind of question, but overall, he checks a lot of boxes. So does Montgomery.
What about Stroman?
I'm not big on him.
No-co pizza eater.
Nola strikes guys out. Nola also, the COVID year, he made 12 starts, which was a full season, but he's made 30-plus starts in his last 5 full seasons. And really, if you include COVID. So for 6 years, he's essentially not really missed a start. That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty dang good, actually. Milwaukee's going to grab Yachty to coach the Brewers. Craig.
Ooh, now that would be juicy. That would be
content galore.
That would be awesome.
He ain't living in Milwaukee.
You're probably right.
But St. Louis, is it that much different?
Yeah, but he was forced to live here. When he played for a team.
To be a big league manager, there's only about 30 of those jobs.
And
he's not going to get it, but that would be awesome.
He couldn't live anywhere near the Fister.
That's right. That's right.
That might scare him right out of Milwaukee.
It doesn't matter who Mo signs. It's going to be a disaster. Look at his free agent track record.
Well, so let's put this together, though. Do we all agree it's probably Sonny Gray?
Yes.
So let's just say that 44 million number's correct. Let's say Sonny Gray's 20 of it, okay? So we have 24 left. Is it fair to say that fifth starter probably makes somewhere in the 10-ish, 12-ish range, probably on a one-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal with incentives? Okay, so I'm not good at math. So now you have what? 12 million left to potentially clean up the bullpen, and let's allot 5 million for a young, controllable starter who's going to be coming over via trade. But then you're also going to trade away, you'd think. Who are they going to trade away? I mean, what's Tyler O'Neill going to make in arbitration? Donovan's cheap, but yeah. But don't you think that makes sense? If Gray takes up 20 million, let's just say it's Michael Wacha and that's 12 or 15 or 10, whatever that is. You bring over a stud in a trade. He probably makes 5 early on in his career. You get a couple bullpen arms. Thank you. That's your 44.
And you should have enough money to cover all the bases.
It sounds like they do, but that probably...
Now they have to execute.
That probably... Don't you think that leaves you out of... I think it leaves you out of Yamamoto, but Nola, if it's a $25 million a year ticket, I don't think that excludes you from Nola. Or Snell, really. Or Montgomery. Don't you think those guys are all going to get about $25 million-ish per year?
Should.
And the market is something that's hard to determine because there are like 6 teams that need 2 starters. There's literally 6 teams that are shopping for 2 starting pitchers. That makes the price of poker go way up. And then every team needs starting pitching, but there's more seemingly this year that need more than one guy that's good.
Don't you also think that I think the Cubs going after Counsell also sends a message they're ready to play.
Yep.
Yes.
Like they're ready to they got into it a little bit the last couple of years with Stroman, with Dansby Swanson, with Bellinger on a 1-year deal. I'm sure they'll try to re-sign him to a longer deal. We'll see. But I think when you move on from a legendary Cub guy, a beloved guy like Rossi, and you get one of the best managers in the game, and you give him the largest contract ever for a manager, to me that's also a bad signal. We're about to go cray-cray.
Cray.
Think about it. You don't think Counsell met with those guys and they said,
yes,
we want you, and we're going all in. So I agree with that. By the way, Bellinger, another bad take on my part, because he was coming off bad seasons, back-to-back. He had the shoulder thing. He just didn't look like the same guy. And he turned out to be one of the best signings of the offseason, and I was wrong about him. And he looked like Bellinger again. Even though he tailed off late in the season, he was really good, and I was wrong about that. But I don't know if you had watched him swing in the previous years, he just looked like a completely different player. But I want to take accountability and bring it to myself here because I was dead wrong on that, along with Tyler O'Neill and Zach Thompson.
Oh, man. Great.
Belly was that high upside deal, though. It was more money than I thought he would get, but that is an MVP. And he was coming off that shoulder, which was a couple years ago, which apparently was a major, major deal. So, I mean, that guy when he's good is a monster.
He's a monster, and he does a lot of different things for you, including really good defense. But watching him swing the previous 2 seasons, I was like, I don't think that guy's coming back, but I was wrong.
Great. Damn it. Great. Now I'm thinking of Mo having sex. Do you think Mo has ever had sex with just a bow tie on? Pizza Wallet.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty funny.
Hey, you thought of worse, Pizza Wallet. Who you kidding?
That was really
Who you
good.
kidding,
That's
man?
pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
Nah. Cole has a hack DeWitt take. DeWitt didn't trade away Garcia, Randy, Gallen, Sandy. Didn't draft pitcher after pitcher who are not major league starters. 613. Where's that at?
I don't know.
You looking up
how does
tsunamis
it-
over there, buddy?
Cole, I want
For
to.
trivia purposes.
I wanted to ask you the how the front office works. So it's all DeWitt, right? And then he says we're not spending this year, and so it's on him.
Well, I'm under the impression that he decides how much of his money the team's going to spend.
Actually, he has the final vote. But I'm just telling you, Mo using the word prudent isn't surprising because kind of that's been his philosophy. There have been times where I'm told they didn't opt for a bigger contract because they just thought it wasn't prudent for guys, and they've had some success with it. But it's kind of a team operation. That's not to say Bill doesn't have the final word because it's his money. But I'm telling you, they do it as a group. It's a different hierarchy than some other teams have, just so you know. There are times where it's on Mo to determine where they're going to spend and how much of it. Now, I'm not saying Bill can't overrule it, but it is a group, as I've been told.
I understand that. That makes sense to me, why they may not be interested in big contracts because they may just not seem them to be tremendously valuable. And then in which case I would say, so why don't they just sign more players and use more money that way instead of giving more money to a few players, give more money to a lot of players, especially in the pitching staff?
I'm just pushing back against, because I do think DeWitt gets this image of, he's counting his money up in an ivory tower. So it's not that way. That's all I'm saying.
I disagree, though. I'm not saying exactly what you said. If Bill DeWitt said spend $250 million every year or spend $225 million every year, don't you think John Mozeliak would love to be able to spend $50 million more or $30 million more in a given year? Get some. You can get elite relievers.
That'd be
at the trade deadline. You could trade for a bunch of stud relievers and add payroll.
I'm not saying that Mo wouldn't love that. I just don't think that's how DeWitt is built. They work together, and Mo, they were like, where's the best place to put our money, and where's it going to be most efficient?
But they're not going to spend $250, $225 is my point. Like if Bill DeWitt said, Mo, you know what, the fans are ticked. We said we're going to increase payroll last year. We really didn't, or I understand why they think we didn't. We had a horrible year. We need to send a message. We need to really increase payroll. I want you to go out there. I want to be top 10 in payroll. Bill DeWitt could absolutely do that.
He could do that. My point is that the Cardinals don't just look at next season. They look ahead, and they realize two really bad contracts can hamstring them for a long time. And to their credit, they've always been competitive, save last year, by being a little frugal with that.
But don't you think also the reason two contracts hamstrings the Cardinals more than other organizations is because they don't have a larger payroll?
I think so.
He stepped out, which is fine.
Yeah.
But that's my point. Like, that was the whole deal years ago. We complained about the Carpenter extension and the Dexter Fowler contract because when you don't allot $18 million properly and you're the Cardinals and you're only, I say only, if you're only spending $150, $170 million, if 10% of your payroll is a bust, that really hurts. You can't outspend that. Other organizations will say, okay, back in the day, Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, Red Sox. Okay, that's a terrible contract. It sucks. We can't get away from it. We can do what we can, but we're going to try to spend a little more to make up for it. Cardinals never do that.
Dexter Fowler, by the way, when he came on the free agent market, was like a big-ticket item. And now everyone, in hindsight, knew it was a bad signing. Except at the time, they didn't. And if you look at his numbers,
they didn't want him the year before.
He wasn't awful. He wasn't awful for like the first two. If you look at the numbers, I mean, he didn't give him what the contract was valued at. That's clear. And also, there were some other things that kind of made him unhappy in the clubhouse. But at the time, there weren't a lot of people saying that was a terrible contract.
But that doesn't matter. Like
I'm just telling you. I'm just trying to give you context.
Okay, so are you blaming the fans and the media then for not complaining about it?
No, I'm just providing context. Like, we all know it was a bad signing. At the time, around baseball, it wasn't. It just worked out badly. So is that on the Cardinals?
Of course it is.
But I'm just providing a little context. The Brett Cecil signing, no one really knew much about him. He's pitching in Toronto. The Cardinals said we overspent early because we valued what this guy can bring. And we paid too much, but we wanted to get this done early, and then it blew up.
Brett Cecil.
That's a reliever, though.
He was beyond all.
And that was $7 million. But I'm saying
he's another guy they bring up.
Okay, but it's 10%. Fair, Carpenter and Fowler were essentially 10% of your budget. And if you're getting a nothing burger from those guys, it's really hard to overcome that.
Yeah, I'm not disputing it. And look at Fowler's first year.
I know he's slow.
Terribly.
Okay, but Kat, like I like Dexter Fowler. The year before, what did he get? Did he get a 1-year deal? And the Cardinals did what a lot of teams do. You overpay a guy when he has a good year and their team wins the World Series. That happens a lot, by the way. The Cardinals aren't the only team that does that. But let's be real. The Fowler contract was a really bad contract.
Yes.
What happened in the clubhouse with him that kind of pissed him off, you say, Jimmy?
He was unhappy.
They moved him from center field.
He didn't like that, and then he kind of didn't really – the fans chirped him for some of the stuff he did on social media, and I think that affected who he was.
Oh, yeah.
And then, in all honesty, the Cardinals thought they were getting the smiling front man that, was going to be the energy guy for the ball club. And that kind of really, you go, we go was what they said in Chicago. And he wasn't really that guy.
Okay.
So he was kind of put in a role that really wasn't him, too.
Charlie,
yes.
The Wombat wants you to rank these Mo horrible moves. Not giving Max to hometown. Man.
Oh, I'm not.
Dude, I'm sorry.
Get through it.
I'm sorry, homies. All y'all out there, my bad. Okay, Mo's horrible moves. Number 1, not giving Max the hometown discount he was asking for. Number 2, the Rosarena trade. Number 3, the Carp unnecessary extension. And number 4, the milk bag Cecil contract. Or the Fowler contract. There's 6.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay.
Was Brett Cecil's contract that bad?
It was 4 years, 30, I believe. That's on the low end.
It's also, a few years ago where that was more money and it was for a reliever. I mean, it was at the time, it was a lot of money for a bullpen piece.
Nice guy. Good Canadian boy.
But it didn't, crush them. An $18 million 5-year deal for a guy who's taken up a spot on the roster is much harder to overcome than Brett Cecil. All right, the ones they mentioned.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I don't know the whole story of Scherzer in terms of, again, this gets back to the argument. Is that DeWitt? Is it Mozeliak? Is it both? Did they say too much money?
Yeah.
Did they say we don't like his violent delivery? Because that's the reason he was moved a lot. A lot of people thought Max Scherzer was injury prone. Now, he ended up having a Hall of Fame career. But I think that's the reason he was moved early from the Diamondbacks. He had this very violent, high-effort delivery.
Yeah.
I think Cecil's not a huge deal, relatively speaking. I think Arozarena, you didn't give him a chance.
No.
That's what stinks. You had a stud in your organization, and you never gave him a shot. And you moved him before you gave him a shot, and it sounds like right now you moved an all-star type guy for what looks like is going to be, we hope, a solid lefty reliever in the pen in Liberatore. Carpenter, the reason a lot of people don't like Carpenter is you didn't have to do that. There was no urgency. Remember, he had just had the really good year, I believe 36 homers, which he went crazy. I think it was July or August. He went absolutely nuts. He fell off. He still had 1 year left. They gave him that extension. It wasn't like he was coming up on his free agent year. So I think that was – the Cardinals often give the extra year or the extra contract to those legacy-type players they really like, and a lot of times it doesn't work out. It didn't work out with Waino, let's be honest. It did with Pujols. The last year of Yachty was not pretty for him on the field, even though the team did well. They moved on from Matt Holliday. That was a decision where they made a business decision.
And Yachty and Albert made him a lot of money in that final
100%.
too.
The first 10 minutes of segment 5 yesterday was the best radio this show has put on in a while. The last 30 was nails on a chalkboard. Jesus Murphy, does that young stooge ever take a breath?
I thought it was the same conversation, though.
I forgot what we talked about.
No, the first 10 minutes I turned off my microphone.
Oh, did you? Oh, yes. That's good. See, that's a
Big
good.
Mike, what's up,
That's a
baby?
good text.
Big Mike, are you coming this Saturday, by the way? All y'all out there.
Let's do it.
This Saturday at the Post in Creve Coeur. Let's go. I'm going to get there at like 1:30, 1:45. I'm not messing around. Meet us there. We'll get all set up, man. We're going to have a good time. Mizzou game on at 2:30. Who's playing before them?
Penn State and Michigan.
Oh, let's go, dude.
Michigan finally has a good game, so we'll find out if all that sign stealing, where it got them.
They're cheating.
I think I'm going to bring my dad. Kate's coming. It's a party, baby. Let's go.
E and Tyler are coming.
E and Tyler are coming.
Does that mean Reed's coming too?
Losey's going to come. Gritty's coming. You know, a lot of people are. It's going to be a blast. So come out there this Saturday. I'll be there again around like 1:30, 1:45. Get set up, man, and let's have a good time at the Post in Creve Court.
And
Absolutely.
Cam said he was buying cheesesteaks for all the listeners.
Man, I'm going to have a couple cheesesteaks.
And the hosts?
And the hosts, of course.
Of course, yeah. Let's see here. Hot Take Central. With Counsell going to Chicago, this is an opportunity, and dare I say, opportunity for the Cardinals to bring in Molina. Make at least 2 big moves for the front line pitching. Nola and Gray, in my opinion. Fowler was hot garbage in a Cardinals uniform. He did win, though, because he got paid for prior work in a Chicago uniform. Gio in O'Fallon. Hey, dude.
Look who came out of retirement.
Hey, Gio. What's up, baby? You come this Saturday, too, man. I want to see you. You know?
That's generally how it works. You do get paid for past performance.
Yeah. You know, saw last year in the NHL, too.
You go, we go. Didn't work that way.
Let's see. Man, Big Mike, geez. If only Randy A. didn't record the clubhouse celebration for Instagram, he'd still be a Cardinal. Yeah, they panicked on that, you know.
I think there's a little something to that.
Of course. Mike Schultz.
You think Schilt did that?
I think organizationally you don't love that. Although now, I mean, look what happened. The Phillies won their series because somebody said attaboy, right? Then the Phillies lost their series because that guy said F the Mets when he was singing in the clubhouse, remember?
Yeah, jeez.
Who said attaboy?
Orlando Arcia.
Okay.
And
And then
Bryce Harper hit 2 home runs in the next game.
and that's the reason.
yes.
He was because Bryce Harper's not very good.
And
He never hits home runs other days.
Yeah, and then the Diamondbacks won the NLCS because when
That's
the
what I
Phillies
just said.
When the Phillies were up 2-0, the Phillies said that they were going to go jump in the pool in right center field in Arizona.
Yeah, I think that's a nice excuse when you lose.
Let's be real. Mo just got Dexter because the Cubs took Hayward. Kevin at the Lake.
Well, they needed someone to fill that spot, didn't they?
Was that the same offseason?
No, they were teammates on the championship team.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, good point.
Or no.
Fowler was the center fielder, and Hayward was the right fielder in 16.
Yes. So who played
And
left?
again, listen, I get it. A lot of teams do this. We can look at this the year before. I believe Fowler signed a 1-year deal. I could be wrong. But he was not this coveted free agent like he was after 16, where he had a really nice year, and then he won the World Series. And a lot of teams do this in a lot of sports. You overpay for the guy who just won the championship.
It was $8 million for 1 year for his second year with the Cubs. And then looks like 5 years, whatever 16.5 times 5 is.
82.5, I believe.
Well, there you go.
Dang. Fowler was an overreaction to losing Hayward. Don't act like he was some hot ticket. The gaslighting is nauseating. The Volvo.
He was. He was one of the top-tier free agents.
Well, I just said my point was the year before, the Cardinals could have been interested. And you said he signed a 1-year deal for 8?
Yep.
Okay, so he goes from a 1-year deal for 8. Now, give him credit. He had a career year, and his team won the World Series. He went from a 1-year deal, $8 million, to a 5-year deal for $82.5 million. That's a big jump.
Doubled his salary and added 4 years.
20 years from now, Mo can really talk about his low-hanging fruit when he gets up from the toilet. On a serious note, watch Hader sign with the Cubs, Mailman Anthony.
Ooh.
Oh.
If I'm Counsell, though, remember the year that the Brewers had their really nice run? That was all about the usage of Hader. I mean, Counsell kind of became this genius.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the way he used openers. He would use Hader for multiple innings, and then he would sit him for a game, and he would bring him back. Like, Hader was his weapon to bullpen his way through a playoff run. And so when you trade that guy away and you're winning, like, you could see how that would just crush a clubhouse.
Cole, that should be your last name. You should be a hater.
Hater?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Jim.
Yeah.
Jim. Do you honestly think the amount of money they've spent hovering around 15th in payroll and top 3 in attendance? Hold on, damn it. They've trying to win. Man, God,
Get through
bad
it.
today,
Good morning,
dude.
everybody.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry to
First
all
you
you
were
guys.
sneezing,
You're
now
fine.
you're coughing.
I'm a mess, dude.
You're
I'm a
good.
mess today. My bad.
Are
All
you
right.
sick?
No, I don't really get sick.
What'd you do last night?
Smoking, drinking, shit. No. Let's see here. Jim, do you honestly think with the amount of money they've spent hovering around 15th in payroll and top 3 in attendance, they're trying to win a World Series? He has to be smarter than that. The price of doing business has gone up, Wombat.
Yeah, and Mo has even said the price of business is going up, and they were going to increase payroll, and they didn't. I want them to spend more, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they don't have enough money to get back to being a contender. I think they do. They have to execute now.
What does Big Joe have to say about this? Joe, what's on your mind?
I'd love to know.
Let it rip, baby.
Well, it's been a riveting conversation. You guys have been going back and forth. And
Do you mean that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I do.
good.
I really
I don't know
do.
if you're being sarcastic.
No, not at all. That's not me.
That's true.
I 100% believe the play will be Sonny Gray. I think you're absolutely right, because that's what they do. The problem with the Cardinals is that I call it nickel and diming, but it's baseball terms. They try to find guys, and there's nothing wrong trying to find surprises. But Steven Matz is the latest example. Look, he had one good year his entire career, which is last year in Toronto. He goes 14-7, right? Okay, well, the Cardinals give him a 4-year contract at, what is it, $11, $12 million, about $44, $45 million. Well, if Steven Matz gets you 14 wins, that's a hell of a deal. That's a steal. The problem is he's the Steven Matz he was his entire career, and he's hurt. So you paid the guy like $22 million for the past 2 years, and what's he got, 5 wins? Well, now that's bad. And that's the kind of stuff they've done. And all that stuff adds up, $5 million here, $6 million here. It all adds up, right? And I said this to you guys a couple of weeks ago, right? Their pitching is so bad from top to bottom. Look, Miles Michaelis, you're paying him $20 million. He was 7-14, ERA of 5. He'll be 36. Matz, well, again, never healthy. You're going to pay him 12. That's like $32 million for those two guys. And what are you going to get from them? I don't know. Doesn't look great, though. The point is, though, even if you get 2 pitchers, where's the depth? You don't have depth. That's why I keep saying, guys, I don't think you can fix this in one off season. I just don't see how you can do it because you need bullpen guys. I've never seen the Cardinal pitching staff this bad. So again, maybe it's me being negative, but I just don't see this as a fixable thing in one off season. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day.
All right, Joe. Hey, don't be shy to see us Saturday.
I think I agree with a lot of what he said. You sign a guy like Matz, and if your rotation is good and he's hurt, you can overcome that. If he's just one of the guys that's hurt, you can't. You have a disastrous season. So I totally get what he's saying. But I think if you bring in 2 solid starters, and then what you're depending on from the rest of the guys kind of goes down, I still think they have a shot. If those guys that they bring in are really frontline starters, they can fix it in 1 year.
And I know we're focusing a lot on free agency, but to me, this problem, it all goes back to poor decision-making in these moves and these trades 5 to 7 years ago. Because if you look at the Cardinals that went on that run from 11 to 15, they weren't a team that really added a ton via free agency. They would add the extra piece at the end, the Berkman, the Beltran. You brought Holiday over and signed him, but that was an organization that was from the minor leagues developing, especially pitching. They had this train of folks coming from Memphis of good pitchers nonstop. Carlos Martinez, Michael Wacha, Shelby Miller, Lance Lynn, the list goes on and on. They always had those guys. And I think when the Cardinals are a team that are not going to spend big in free agency, when you miss out on, and I'm not going to nitpick every single guy, but to me it's more about the fact that there's a lot of them. Gallen, Alcantara, Arozarena, even Garcia. I understand Garcia blossomed later, but the point is you chose wrong several times, right? You could have young, controllable pitchers that are cheap in Gallen, Alcantara. You chose different guys. We understand why you chose Jack Flaherty at one point. Everybody gets that. We can understand why you might choose a Harrison Bader over a Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson, whatever, but you chose wrong is the point. And you chose wrong many times. I just mentioned 4 studs. Even if you want to say, okay, Garcia blossomed later, I get that. But the point is more about you made a lot of mistakes with guys in your organization, and this is why it's, in my opinion, fine to criticize John Mozeliak, because for 10 years he never made a mistake. For 10 years, you can't name one guy that got away except for Adam Ottavino or maybe Luke Gregerson. John Mozeliak in the front office hit home runs for a decade. They never name one person who got away, who was really good somewhere else in that first 10 years.
I think.
Can you name anybody?
No.
That's my point. Now they've missed on a bunch of guys.
See, to me, buried in what you just said is the best point that's been made on the show the whole time.
Go to break.
Is that the influx of pitching talent, which has been ongoing for this Cardinal organization when they needed it most, wasn't there last year. Like, even the year before, if they still had that constant output of young pitching you could bring up, put in the rotation, get something out of, it wouldn't seem as dire as it is right now. But the well seemingly has run dry. A lot of the young guys they brought up, including Liberatore, who I think is better suited for the bullpen, didn't fix anything. So it made the situation worse. I think that's probably the biggest problem that they face, because I think the starting pitching is where everything went south last year. And right now the best pitcher they have, is Hentz in the minor leagues, right? And you might see him at the end of this year if things go well. They used to have a bunch of those guys ready to go, and they haven't in recent years.
And it wasn't just starters. It was relievers. It was Segrist. It was Rosenthal. And the Cardinals' farm system is not great from a pitching depth standpoint. The guys that we've heard of the last couple of years, 7 years ago, you'd hear about some guy. Who's this guy, Lance Lynn? Who's this guy? All of a sudden, the guy comes up and pitches really well. The guys we've heard the last couple of years, look at Graceffo. Didn't a lot of people think Graceffo was going to be a piece this year potentially?
Yep.
McGreevy, Graceffo, Zach Thompson is a to be determined. Matthew Liberatore right now. All these names we've heard that we thought were going to be contributors, even Jake Woodford, they've really given you almost nothing.
And I think that may be the biggest problem overall, is that if you throw in with the idea that it went south because of the starting rotation and there are no replacements ready to plug in from the minor leagues, it's been that way for really a couple of years, then that's the issue.
Yeah. If you really look at it, guys, John Mozeliak really hasn't done much. At the beginning, he was winning with all jockey guys like Jeff Luhnow. I give him credit for everything up to 2012. So everything after that went downhill once Mozeliak was doing it himself.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. They had a nice 5-year run, though. I mean, Mozeliak was the GM starting in 2008. They were good all the way through 15.
Losing Luhnow is bigger than people talk about. He was a stud. Chef Todd, what's up, homie?
I agree that was huge. But Mozeliak also should get a lot of credit. He was running the show for that first decade. The Cardinals were essentially perfect for a decade.
And now they're talking about bringing in someone from the outside for outside set of eyes, which I think is a healthy thing to do, right? Because a lot of the people at the top of the pyramid for baseball administration are all products of the system. You get some from the outside, give you a different perspective. I think that's smart.
Mozeliak even said that. I remember when they had the press conference, when he was talking, when Luhnow left, and then the Astros started taking a bunch of the Cardinals guys. After a couple, you could tell it started to be, hey, we can't lose all of our staff. There's also the fact that you had a lot of talent that went elsewhere. Dan Kantrovitz also. Yeah, right now the minor leagues are not great for the Cardinals. And for that whole run, the minor leagues was always a pipeline, especially of just nonstop pitching that could come up and help immediately.
And they stole the software, too, the Cardinals.
They stole the software.
The Cardinals said that the guys that went to the Astros stole software.
Interesting.
And then one guy went to jail for it. What was his name?
That was not Carlos Correa. It was Chris Correa. Correct? Chris Correa?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh,
he went to white-collar prison. It was fine.
Is Dakota Hudson starting the year in the bullpen then? Are we thinking?
I don't know what to do with Dakota.
If we get 3 in the city.
The premise to me that when he won 16 it was all luck, I just don't buy. I just don't buy that. But he's got to throw strikes, and he hasn't been able to do that.
It's a problem.
But he was okay in stretches last year. But if you're trying to revamp your starting rotation, you probably don't want to see him in the rotation.
Is he even a non-tender candidate?
I don't even know what his contract status is.
No, I'm saying, is he a guy the Cardinals might even just say, hey, peace out?
No, because I have a feeling they'd want a guy like that at AAA in case of emergency break last. You think of guys who started last year, okay? I mean, as an emergency break. You want guys. They always load up AAA with guys that you need just in case everything goes wrong.
Wow, I didn't realize how bad the end of his season was. His August was pretty good, but his September was horrible.
And by the way, this is like number nerd stuff, but the people that always questioned Dakota Hudson said that he always, over a small sample size, even in his good season, he always really outperformed the numbers behind the scenes, like the FIP and whatnot. And for a guy like that who walks a lot of guys,
getting out of jams, basically.
These are number nerds. They basically said that, Dakota Hudson had never really put together a full season where a lot of his successes and failures were little chunks. Like, are you looking at his page right now?
Yeah.
Name me how many innings he's thrown, like, season to season.
All right. We got last season. We'll go last season backwards. So 81, 139, 8, but that was in 2 games. 39, 174.
So his one, and by the way, this is not me, this is the number geeks, but what was his FIP the year that he was really good?
Looks like 4.93.
And what was his ERA, like 3.3?
3.35.
Okay, so again, this is people saying
He's lucky.
He had tremendous luck that year.
That's what I said. I don't buy you can be lucky for an entire year. I just don't. And there's something to what he threw. He's gone away from it because he can't throw strikes anymore. And he also had Tommy John mixed in there too, which sometimes guys don't come back as the same guy. Let's not forget he had Tommy John. So is he a guy I want to see in the rotation? No, but I'm not buying what he did when he won 16 games was pure luck.
I didn't say pure luck, but
no,
teams,
but a lot of guys do.
But we're talking about predictive stats. And other organizations, they're going to go after pitchers that have a FIP lower than their ERA, as opposed to the opposite.
Got it.
The guy that has the 4 ERA but the 3 FIP is the guy who most likely is going to outperform that ERA. Whereas Dakota Hudson, again, it's more likely to go the opposite way.
Okay, so it's basically like the hitting or the pitching equivalent of like BABIP or whatever.
Yes.
So
fielding, independent pitching. That's a good. I think that's a good correlation.
Or like hard hit rate. Like his batting average is low, but his hard hit rate is really high, so he's hitting the ball just directly at people.
And by the way, I'm rooting for Dakota Hudson. And when people said that back when he was good, I also questioned that. But I think those folks have proven to be definitely more right than wrong.
I will say this: when Matt Carpenter was hitting 160, and the Cardinals said, "Well, look at the numbers behind the scenes. He should be hitting 240." No one bought that because that was making an excuse for a guy who was hitting 160. I think there's a balance to those things.
But they were right on that one particular year.
He wasn't good for the next year after that.
No, but that particular year he was. I remember.
I remember too. But to say that he's actually hitting better than your eyes tell you, no one bought it, even though those numbers back that up, and he wasn't good the year after or the year after for that either.
Right, but I think that particular year he actually did end up having a good season. My
point is this. All those numbers are pieces of the puzzle. And like any stat, to me, I don't take one stat in a vacuum. It's a piece of a puzzle to a bigger picture. That's how I look at stats.
Mo also had Tony La Russa in his ear on decision-making. A bit more clout than Ollie. Sharon. You coming Saturday, Sharon? Bring the doggy.
A lot more clout. And by the way, whoever you want to give credit for that move, you can give it to DeWitt, Mozeliak, La Russa, everybody. The move that won them a World Series, it wasn't sexy. It was adding a bunch of random bullpen guys. And it was moving it away from the next big thing, the prized Colby Rasmus.
Does this segment meet Cole's expectations? Ambassador James Hahn, is this okay? A lot of the Cardinal talk.
I was very excited for this topic today when this broke.
We kicked ass, didn't we?
I thought you wanted NFL.
No.
Oh, that game was fantastic last night. Zach Wilson was awesome. He's fun to watch.
Bad. Chargers defense tore their entire team apart.
And one more thing before we go to break. Cam, has your dog ever gone after a possum? F those things. No, my dogs are indoor dogs. They're spoiled little princesses, and they're not allowed to go outside unless they're on a leash with their mommy and their daddy. They are not allowed to go.
Have you seen any of the videos?
Is Kate allowed outside?
No. What'd you say?
Have you seen any of the videos that have circulated about beaver attacks?
Ooh, they'll get you, dude. Those things, they're hard to kill. They got
I saw two that happened apparently recently where one attacked a swimmer in a lake.
Yeah, I did see that.
There were two girls and cut up one, and then there was another recent one where the beaver was doing something. They tried to get it out of there, and it attacked the person, cut up their face.
Think about those beavers, man. They're biting into hardcore wood. If they get a hold of you, they're going to mess you up.
That beaver will get you.
That beaver will get you.
Bad beaver.
I know.
Not a good thing.